last night, but the game, just kind of we come up a few inches short there in the end.
Well, let's look at the drive chart from the ball game last night. Early on, there was not much offense. It was good defense, I guess, is what the old defensive coordinator here, Jeff Carman, would say. But both teams went 3 and out, I think, maybe at least the first 2 times they each had the football. And then the Scotties wound up forcing the first turnover of the night when Matt Molden recovered a fumble at the Campbellsville 4-yard line with about 4:07 to go, or excuse me, 4:57 to go in that first quarter. And then on the very next play, Jasper Mundy scores from 4 yards out, and then a 2-point conversion was good on a run by Desi Austin, and Glasgow led 8-0 with 4:53 to go in that first quarter. But had to be proud of your defense the first couple of series. Campbellsville holding them to 3 and out, and then for Matt to be able to jump on that loose ball and Jasper to be able to score on the next play, it was a good lift for you right there at the end of the first quarter.
Oh, it's always a good thing when you win the turnover battle. It hadn't happened very many times that the defense, gets a +4 and you don't win the football game. But that's how it played out tonight. So we were pleased with the defensive effort, and I thought that again. I want to give Campbellsville credit. I mean, they stopped us on offense, and they slowed us down, and we never could get into a rhythm, and we just never could. Penalties, we hurt ourselves, and we just never could get nothing going offensively.
Campbellsville would turn it over on their next possession as well, taking over at their own 24-yard line. Caleb Kimball would eventually recover a fumble. Glasgow took over at its own 16 after that fumble recovery. Scotties would wind up punting. Campbellsville then would turn it over on downs. That was followed by a Glasgow punt. And then Campbellsville would get its first score of the night as Kendon Young returned a punt 83 yards for a touchdown with 3:30 to go in the second quarter. Campbellsville converted the 2-point conversion on a run by Eric Groves. It was 8-8 with 3:30 to go in the second quarter. And I know, Jeff, you guys, obviously from the game plan, you could tell early in the game when Dalvin was punting, he was punting the ball away from Young. He wanted to keep it away from that kid, and just made a mistake, punted the ball down the middle of the field, it looked like, on that one time.
Well, we were putting the ball over kind of on the hash over on our sideline, and obviously we were punting away from number one, Kendon Young, and Dalvin had kind of shortened one up a little bit from the time before, and the next thing I know, I looked up and Kendon Young was standing over there right where we were going to punt the ball. He had moved from one side over to the other, and kind of just got right beside the guy, and we kicked it to him, and that's football. That's football. We have to tackle Kendon Young in open field, and that's just part of it. And we kind of lost contain over there, and and we just had a breakdown, and that's part of the game, and that's all part of it. But other than that, I thought our kicking game was pretty solid the whole night. But you hate to give up scores in the kicking game. I mean, because it's just a backbreaker. Not only is it it's a backbreaker not only physically, but it's a backbreaker mentally, emotionally to the kids. When you've played so well in that first half, and you look up and the score's tied, and they get a score off special teams. But special teams is a third of the game, and we spend a lot of time on it, and we take a lot of pride in it, and I attribute a lot of that just to a good player in Kendon Young. He gets out in open field. It's not a good thing, I can tell you that.
Scotty's got the football back at their own 35-yard line. Drove into Campbellsville territory before they wound up punting the football away. Campbellsville would run the clock out there to end the first half. Scotty's got the ball to start the third quarter and punted eventually. Campbellsville got the ball back at their own 39-yard line on their first possession of the third quarter. They put together a 12-play, 61-yard drive that took 6 minutes and 1 second. Kendon Young would cap it with a 1-yard touchdown run. 2-point conversion was good by Tavon Hunter on a run, and Campbellsville led 16-8 with 2:59 to play in that third period. Just a nice sustained drive by Campbellsville right there, Jeff. Just got to give us some credit.
Yeah, Campbellsville, it seemed like they had the ball most of the third quarter. If my memory serves me right, we started off, we took the ball, we got the ball in the second half, and we went 3 and out, and they put a good long drive together there, and if I'm not mistaken, we had close to another 3 and out right there, and they kind of controlled the ball that whole third quarter, and our defense kind of got fatigued there a little bit in the third quarter. We tried to eliminate big plays on defense and give Campbellsville credit. They took it 12. It took them 12 plays and a 60-yard drive, and that's kind of our game plan. If somebody's going to score on us, we want them to have to pound it and do it in a 10-plus play drive, and give Campbellsville credit. They did that.
You guys did respond, though, well off of that, Jeff, as late there in the third quarter you took over at your own 34-yard line with 2:53 to go in that third period, and you put together what was your best offensive drive of the night. 10 plays, 66 yards, took 2 minutes and 34 seconds. Desi Austin scored on a 1-yard run. The 2-point conversion was good on a pass from Desi to Henry Harris to tie the game at 16-all. And if your offense ever did have rhythm last night, I think that's where you found it, right there on that drive.
Yeah, and I me personally, I think fatigue was a factor in that. I think Campbellsville started getting tired. We finally had started to wear them down a little bit, and I thought we had a shot right there to kind of change the course of the game. And we came back and moved the ball good there at the end of the third quarter. Got a little rhythm going offensively. Our running game picked up a little bit, and we had them on their heels right there. That was a kind of an opportunity for us to seize the moment. They came back and I think got a touchdown there, but we stopped them down there close to getting a touchdown, and we just couldn't get a drive going there to get us anything. Yeah,
let's talk about the 2-point conversions, Jeff, because you did convert both of your 2-point conversion tries, and tonight the fans kind of got their first look at the formation that you guys are using on your extra point tries, which could as easily be 2-point conversions if they were tonight. Just talk a little bit about that formation and the idea behind that.
It's just it's a spacing deal. We've got 2 guys, I think, it's proven to me in practice that we can kick extra points. We're going to line up and get a look of what they have, and it's got more to do with the defense than it does anything else. And if we get a look that we feel like we can, take advantage of, that's what we did, and we were successful in both times. With that out there on tape, it might not be as successful, in the weeks to come, but that's just something that that we've practiced and we've worked on, and it's nice to see when you put things in like that and kids execute it and it's successful.
And on that particular 2-point conversion, Desi just lobbed the pass into the end zone to Henry. The pass got tipped. Henry did a good job of keeping his concentration and being able to haul that ball in after it was tipped.
And at that time, it was a big play in the ball game. But like I said, that's just one of those plays that you work on in practice, and it's a little bit of a gimmick, but it's also about execution. And you look and you see and you look at the numbers game of what you have out there and what they can do, and we executed both times.
Campbellsville came right back, drove the football down the field, got inside the Glasgow 10-yard line, but the Scotty defense again stepped up. Ben Hughes recovered a loose ball, and Glasgow, after that fumble recovery, took over deep in their own territory at the 6-yard line, not really able to get a lot going, had to punt, and gave Campbellsville the football back in good field position at the Glasgow 44. 5 plays later, Kendon Young was scoring his 3rd touchdown of the night, a drive that went 2 minutes and 11 seconds. 2-point conversion this time was no good, left Campbellsville with a 22-16 lead with 6:03 to go in the ball game, and obviously, Jeff, that drive proved to be the difference in the game.
It did, and I was proud of our kids to respond down there at the end. I thought we were starting to get fatigued, and I substituted Ben Hughes in for Henry. I thought Henry was getting winded, and Ben came in there and put a headgear on the ball and forced a fumble, and we were able to recover and had the momentum right there and was hoping that the offense could get something going. And I give Campbellsville credit. They rose up to the occasion right there. A lot of teams would kind of fold, hang their head after their fourth turnover of the night, and they didn't. That showed some senior leadership, and you tip their hat to them. I mean, and when they accomplish something like that, that's a good thing.
Scotty's got the ball back, trailing 22-16 with 6:02 to go in the game. Would wind up having to punt 1 minute later. Campbellsville got it back at their own 39-yard line with 4:52 to play, but then the Scotties forced their final turnover of the night as Stephen Franklin fell on another Campbellsville fumble, set the Scotties up at the Campbellsville 25-yard line. And as we talked about in the first segment, Scotties got down inside the 5-yard line, actually had 4th and goal from the 1 and just unable to punch it in. And so Campbellsville winds up winning the football game by a final of 22-16. We'll come back in just a moment, take a look at the final stats, and just get a brief comment on Glasgow's next opponent, Louisville Holy Cross. We're back after this on WCOU Sports.
What are people going to think of our new buttermilk crispy chicken? Let's find out.
It's probably the best sandwich I've ever had.
It's super crispy, but it's also really juicy.
So would you guys come back? Yeah, definitely. Well, here's our card. The location is on the back. It's McDonald's? What? What?
Oh, get out
No way.
Wait, seriously?
Try some buttermilk crispy chicken. It's right around the corner at McDonald's. Buttermilk.
Back here on Ask the Coach, our final segment with Glasgow head coach Jeff Garman, as we want to take a look now at the stats from last night's game. Again, Campbellsville won at 22-16. Campbellsville wound up with 12 first downs to Glasgow's 11. Campbellsville had 307 yards rushing. That was their total yardage. They did not have a single yard through the air. Scotties had 164 yards rushing, 28 yards passing, total yardage of 192. Campbellsville committed 4 turnovers in the game. Scotties, no turnovers. I know that's something you're proud of, Jeff. Your offense did take care of the football.
And that's one of your goals going into the game is to win the turnover battle. And when, like I said, not very many games that I played in or coached in that when you win the turnover battle 4-0, that you come out on the short end. But I was proud of the way the kids responded on defense. After a little bit of a struggle in the scrimmage against Russellville, I thought the kids come out and played well.
Campbellsville actually put the ball on the ground 7 times, losing 4 of those. Scotties did not put the ball on the ground at all. No interceptions for either club. Scotties were penalized 7 times for 55 yards. Campbellsville 7 for 72 yards. Glasgow had 69 offensive plays, a total of 21 minutes and 44 seconds on the time of possession. Campbellsville 49 plays, 26 minutes and 16 seconds. Individually, the Scotties led in rushing by Jasper Mundy with 18 carries for 70 yards and 1 touchdown, a long carry of 12. Kyle Nixon had 14 carries, 63 yards, a long of 21. Desi Austin, the quarterback, rushed 15 times for 32 yards, 1 touchdown, a long of 15. Desi through the air was 4 of 12 for 28 yards. Leading receiver was Ben Hughes, 2 catches for 18 yards, a long of 15. Kyle Nixon caught a couple of passes out of the backfield for 10 yards. Dalvin Smith punted 9 times last night for 244 yards, an average of 27, and a long of 32. Campbellsville led in rushing by their outstanding back, Kendon Young, 23 carries, 152 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a long of 28. Destin Ford, the fullback, carried 11 times for 97 yards and a long of 44. Jeff, everybody focuses on Kendon Young for that Campbellsville club just because he's such an outstanding back. But tell you what, that fullback is no slouch either. 5'10", 220 pounds. He's a load down inside there.
He was a load, and you had to spend so much time and focus on Kendon Young. He's such a good player that a very good compliment to him is Destin Young. He's a big fullback that runs hard up inside, and he's hard to tackle one-on-one, and the difference in the ball game to me when you look back at it wasn't as much about Kendon Young it was the big plays that the fullback, posed for us. And they were doing some things, give them credit, where they started running him a little bit more of an outside type look, and it put our defense in a bind.